Hello everyone and welcome back to a Reef update of jmadden184's Reef tank. It's been some time since the last update, almost 10 weeks now. It's now week 27 and it is day 190 of that 27th week, and there have been a couple changes to the system that I want to talk about. I'm going to try and make this video as quick as possible. First off, first thing that has happened with the system is I decided to stop using synthetic salt. A couple of months ago or so, 8 weeks ago, I decided that I wanted to start doing water changes on the system. And in doing so, I wanted to try something different. And what I did was I stopped using instant ocean reef crystals, and I did some research, and I found that there's actually a marine research institute not too far from where I live here in Southern California, and they offer filtered salt water to hobbyists. They use it for their research purposes, but it's also open to the quote-unquote public, and they let us go there and get water. So I've started doing my water changes with naturally filtered salt water, and the response in my corals has been awesome. I've got lots and lots of new growth. As you know, I've been really busy over the summer, and in the coming months I'm also going to be really busy, so I don't really have the time to dose my tank. I was using the Bionic 2-part supplement, calcium and alkalinity, and also using the Kent Marine essential elements, and this was working well for me, but with being so busy, it was just really hard for me to keep things stable. And by doing my water changes weekly with filtered salt water, I haven't had to dose during the week. My parameters stay consistent, and it just makes it a little bit easier on me throughout the week. With all that being said, one of the other changes to the tank I'll get into, but first I want to tell you about one of the issues I've been having, and this will lead me into the next change that I made. The tank, as you know, has gone through quite the change over the last 12 months, and over the last 20 months, just to put it in perspective, less than 2 years ago this was just live rock and a couple fish, so within the last year I've done a couple changes to the system. I've added a sump, I've added a larger protein skimmer, I've put in a refugium with macroalgae, and it's lit 24/7, and with installing a sump you also have to have a return pump, and between the return pump, the large pump that's running my skimmer, and the temperatures here in Southern California, my tank would not budge below 83 degrees during the day. And this went on for a couple of weeks. One of the things I tried to do to remedy the situation was I removed my canopy from the tank, I put fans on the top, I put fans in the sump, I left the doors to the sump open. I tried all these different things, but I couldn't get the temperature to really drop more than like a degree. So I had to go out and do what I should have done in the beginning, and I highly recommend those of you that are keeping sensitive corals, or any kind of coral or invert for that matter, to get one of these here. I had to do it. I had to go out and get myself a chiller. Now if you take a look here on the top, on that little temperature gauge up there, you're going to see that the temperature on the top is the temperature in my living room, and the temperature below it is the temperature of the tank currently. And on the chiller you also have the temperature that the chiller is reading. Now this chiller is a 1/4 horsepower JBJ, and the way it works is it'll give you a temperature that you put into it plus or minus a degree. What I mean is that for instance, I set the temperature for 77 degrees because it's kind of the sweet spot. And what will happen is, as the temperature rises in the tank to 78.1 degrees, the chiller will kick on. It'll instantly drop the temperature 1 degree within like the first 3 minutes or so, and then within the next 15 or so it'll bring it down to 76 degrees, and when it's hit 76 degrees it kicks off, and then it usually returns to 77 and hangs out there for a while. The reason for this is so that your chiller isn't kicking on and off, on and off. And some of you might think, well, 2 degrees, that's not very stable for temperature. Well, the reefs in the wild, they fluctuate roughly that much between night and day, and 2 degrees isn't going to affect the corals. It's kind of what they're used to in the natural environment. The chiller is really quiet, and it doesn't run for more than 20 minutes or so when it kicks on every couple hours. So moving up here, you can take a quick look at the tank here. What you're going to see is that most notably is the rose bubble tip anemones have turned pink. This isn't the best of things. What's happening is the anemones were very stressed out from the high temperatures in the system, and this is what occurs. Euphyllias are also highly susceptible to this as well, and they lost a lot of their color, but they're still eating, and hopefully with the stable temperature within the acceptable range will help them recover. And as you can see too, the gold torch down there is actually getting washed out because it's so white. It has a little bit of orange left in it. Most of the darker pigments are gone though. With that being said, in hindsight of the high temperatures, some things are doing really great. For instance, this Acropora has just grown incredibly. Look at this thing. Look at all the new branches. If you watch the last video and look at this now, the change is night and day. It looks amazing now. It's huge, shooting off in every direction. And the Bali Green Slimer is doing the same. Lots of new growth there. And most notably over here on this Millie. This Millie has lots of new stalks growing on it, and it's looking really, really great. So that's really going to be pretty much it for the update. Aside from all that, I've got a couple of new fish. As you can see here, here's one of them. It's a very small Tamingi tang, roughly 2 inches. And somewhere else in here, the other fish, I'm not sure where, but there is a copper-banded butterfly, and he's also very small. Yeah, you can see him hiding inside of the rocks here. Cool little guy, good-looking fish, eating, and he's pretty much wiped out all my feather dusters and eating a ton of my copepods, but that's okay. He's been eating some mysis shrimp, so we'll see how he does over the coming months. Alright guys, thanks for watching, happy reefing, and enjoy your tanks.